Almost 4 years into its life cycle, the Honda ZR-V has received the kind of update that Honda tends to do better than most manufacturers at this end of the market: measured, purposeful, and driven by a clear sense of where the vehicle needs to go rather than a desire to change things for the sake of generating attention. If you were hoping for a dramatic visual reinvention, this isn't that. But if you're interested in a compact crossover that has quietly become more sophisticated, more technology-forward, and significantly more electrified than the model it updates, there's a lot worth paying attention to here. The context matters before getting into the details. The ZR-V is Japan's take on what the North American market knows as the HR-V, and while the two share fundamental DNA, the Japanese version has always been developed with a slightly different set of priorities: a greater emphasis on refinement, a stronger technology focus, and a more considered approach to powertrain strategy. The refresh for 2026 makes that last point very clear indeed. Honda has dropped the turbocharged 1.5-liter gasoline engine from the lineup entirely, moving every single ZR-V sold in Japan to the 2.0-liter EHEV self-charging hybrid system. That's not a partial electrification strategy or a hybrid option sitting alongside conventional alternatives. It's a complete commitment, and it aligns the Japanese market offering directly with what European buyers have been getting, reinforcing what is clearly a unified global direction for the model going forward. The range structure has been reorganized alongside the powertrain transition, and the new hierarchy is clearer and more logically differentiated than what came before. 4 trims now define the lineup: the entry-level X, the mid-range Z, the visually distinctive Black style, and the newly introduced Cross Touring grade that arrives as probably the most interesting addition to the range. Each has a clearly defined personality rather than simply representing incremental specification additions, which makes the buying decision more straightforward and gives the lineup a broader appeal across different buyer profiles. The Z grade sits at the heart of the standard range and is where most buyers will spend the majority of their time considering their options. Visually, Honda has resisted the temptation to make wholesale changes, which is the right call for a design that still reads as clean and modern rather than dated. The familiar silhouette and surfacing remain intact, with freshness delivered through new paint options: Twilight Mist Black Pearl, Meteoroid Gray Metallic, and Seabed Blue Pearl join the palette, and redesigned 18-inch alloys in a 5 double-spoke layout that suits the vehicle's proportions well. The vertical slat grille stays, which is worth mentioning because it's one of the more distinctive design elements on any Honda in the current lineup, and the detail that most clearly links the ZR-V visually to its European counterpart. Changing it would have been a mistake, and Honda didn't. The interior is where the Z-Grade's upgrade story becomes genuinely compelling. The technology specification has taken a significant step forward, and the gap between what the refreshed ZR-V offers and what most mainstream compact SUVs provide has widened meaningfully. A 9-inch infotainment display with Google built-in handles connectivity, a 10.2-inch fully digital instrument cluster sits ahead of the driver, and a 12-speaker Bose premium audio system handles acoustic duties. That last item deserves a moment. Bose audio in a mainstream compact SUV as standard equipment is not something you encounter every day, and it suggests Honda has been paying close attention to where buyer expectations have moved in this segment. Heated and electrically adjustable seats, leather upholstery, dual-zone climate control, and a multi-view camera system complete a specification that pushes the ZR-V considerably closer to premium compact SUV territory than its price point would traditionally suggest. The Black style variant takes the Z-Grade specification and wraps it in a darker, more assertive visual identity that will appeal to buyers who want their compact SUV to project a different kind of personality. A honeycomb-patterned grille replaces the standard vertical slat design, crystal black pearl accents appear around the body, and the 18-inch wheels are finished in Berlina black. Inside, the darker theme continues with an interior treatment that emphasizes contrast and visual drama rather than the warmth of the standard cabin. It's a well-executed variant that achieves what these kinds of specials are supposed to achieve, a meaningfully different look and feel without requiring a separate platform or powertrain. The technical and comfort specification remains identical to the Z-Grade underneath the visual differentiation, which means buyers aren't trading substance for style when they choose the black style. The Cross Touring is the trim that generates the most conversation, and understandably so. Honda has designed it to project a more adventurous character, drawing styling inspiration from the US market HR-V to create something that feels genuinely distinct from the rest of the ZR-V range rather than a simple trim variation. The front end has been reshaped with a honeycomb grille and revised bumper intakes that give it a more purposeful, rugged expression compared to the cleaner look of the standard model. Aluminum-style skid plates, side skirts, additional protective cladding, and matte black 18-inch wheels reinforce the outdoor-oriented theme throughout the profile and rear. An exclusive desert beige pearl exterior finish, a color that works surprisingly well with the Cross Touring's design language, further distinguishes it from the rest of the lineup, ensuring that picking it out in a car park is never going to be difficult. Inside, beige leather upholstery with orange contrast stitching adds warmth and character to the cabin in a way that feels considered rather than garish. It's the kind of interior color combination that photographs well and lives well, which is a harder combination to achieve than it sounds. What Honda is doing with the Cross Touring is interesting from a strategic standpoint as well as a design one. The market for compact SUVs with genuine visual differentiation, vehicles that look like they belong somewhere more interesting than a supermarket car park without necessarily being capable of getting there, has grown considerably. The Cross Touring isn't pretending to be a serious off-roader, it's offering visual personality and outdoor lifestyle aesthetics within a package that remains fundamentally focused on urban and suburban usability, and it does so honestly, rather than loading up with traction hardware that most buyers will never use. That kind of straightforward positioning tends to resonate with buyers who know what they actually need. On pricing, Honda hasn't made a formal announcement yet at the time of writing, with a full Japanese market reveal scheduled for March 26th. Local reporting from Creative Trend suggests the range will open at approximately 3,707,000 yen, around $23,800, for the base eHEV-X with front-wheel drive, rising to roughly 4,727,800 yen, or about $30,300, for the flagship eHEV-Z Cross Touring with all-wheel drive. The entry point represents a modest increase of around 72,600 yen over the outgoing model's starting price, which works out to roughly $470, a number that becomes very easy to justify when you consider that every car in the new range comes with a more sophisticated powertrain, a stronger technology package, and a more clearly differentiated lineup structure than what it replaces. The broader story the updated ZR-V tells is one that Honda has been building toward for a while now. Compact SUVs that compete purely on value and practicality face an increasingly difficult market as more manufacturers get better at both. The path forward for a brand with Honda's engineering heritage runs through technology, electrification, and refinement, doing things better rather than simply doing them more cheaply. The ZR-V refresh commits to that path fully, dropping combustion-only options entirely, raising the technology specification meaningfully, and introducing a trim structure that gives different buyers genuine reasons to choose different variants, rather than simply selecting by budget. It's a mature, confident update from a brand that understands its product well enough to improve it without losing what made it worth buying in the first place.